Then I started searching for things outside of like on Amazon or on eBay or maybe some other sites where people were selling wholesale items. So around 15, 16, I started buying product, 1,000 units of this and 1,000 units of those. And I used to take it to the streets and sell it on the street. One item in particular I remember when I was like 15 or 16, probably about 15. Yeah, maybe about 14, 15. But it was these solar panel fan hats.
Hats, okay.
Yeah, so the solar panel on there and there was the fan on there. So it was about 14 years ago.
Okay.
And, I thought it was real unique, so I was like, okay, cool. Like, they were like $3, so I was like 14, 15. So I ordered like 1,000 of them, at that time. I had the money to do so. So when I purchased those items, I took them on the street right off of Glenwood in Atlanta, and I start selling them to people on the street. And black people like, what the hell is this, And I'm like, look, man, you put it on your head. Let me show you real quick. Turn it back. Boom.
Right. You demonstrating it and everything, showing how it
selling
works.
It. So I was selling them almost $20 a pop, you know, and I was getting it at $3. So I was making really good margins.
Okay.
Then the idea hit me. I said, you know what? I'm going to throw a Mickey Mouse on this, and I'm going to go make a pitch to, what is it, in Orlando, Florida?
Disney World?
Disney World.
Yeah.
So there was an opportunity that had came up in which I took advantage of that, So I flew down. I was 16. I took a flight down there to Miami. I stayed at the hotel for one night, but I had two sisters that lived there, so I stayed with them. I wrote a whole business plan while I was there, and I made a pitch at a pitch competition.
Right. How old are you now?
16.
You're 16 years old?
Yeah, I was 16, yeah. Made a pitch. Yeah.
That's gutsy, man.
Yeah,
like 16?
It was, I don't know what I was
Yo, like 16-year-olds just go to Disney World and try to pitch Mickey Mouse hats.
Yeah, so it was wild, so.
But God, I'm listening. Tell me about that.
So it was crazy. So I wrote the plan, wrote a business plan, got a little template offline, wrote the business plan.
How'd you know you needed a business plan?
I don't know. Well, you know what? No, I was a part of this organization here in Atlanta that I joined. I'm glad you said that. It was called Youth Vibe.
Okay.
Matter of
Youth
fact,
Vibe?
Youth Vibe.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm real close with the founder of that organization.
Okay.
He looks young, but he might be 50 at least.
Right.
But the brother,
but he drinks a lot of water.
Yeah, he drinks a lot of water, right? His body's in alignment, right? For sure.
Right.
So he owns a company called Supreme Burger here in Atlanta. His father was the owner of Supreme Fish.
Okay.
And that was a major, food
chain.
Yeah, food chain here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Waleed, he had a program called Youth Vibe, and it was like teaching, people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, youth, about, the business and about how it goes. So I joined that program, and, they talked about business plans and stuff like that. So, I was interested, because I knew I wanted to be in business. I didn't know what exactly, but I knew I wanted to get into it.
You're already in it. Like,
I was already doing it. Yeah. Everybody else was a part of the program. I'm like, y'all know what y'all doing.
I do this.
I do this, So we getting it in, so I'm writing a plan. Then they had an opportunity that came up about going to Florida for like a competition or something like that.
Okay.
And I was thinking, well, I know what I would do, if I went, so we organized it. I remember I was by myself when I went. I do remember that. But we organized it. I flew down there, stayed with my sisters, stayed at the hotel, did the pitch. And I remember this white guy that was there. It was nothing but white children. And there was only one other black guy, but he was from Haiti. And he had very promising young brother too, man. I could see it then, and he's still very sharp to this day.
Gotcha.
His name is Steve Simbert.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve. But anyway, when we're there, one of the white guys at the competition, he said, he asked me, do you have a patent for this?
Okay.
And I was like, well, what's a patent?
Right.
And he smiled, he chuckled like that. He's like, don't worry about it. and I was like, it was in the back of my head. I said, what is a patent? What is a patent?
Right.
I kept asking myself, what is a patent?
Right.
And when he said don't worry about it, I just didn't worry about it. Right. It wasn't a big deal, But later in that competition, he had stood up, and he was one of the organizers, and or maybe a guest speaker, maybe. But I remember him telling all the young people that was in there, he was like, now, one of you all had this genius idea here today. He said, but that person did not patent that idea. He said, I'm going to say this, that idea is no longer their idea.
Wow.
That's how he said it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Are you serious?
That's what he said.
So he says it's a jack move.
It was a jack move, straight up. So, man, I'm thinking right then, I said, well, a patent must be something to protect your idea then, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay.
And back then you ain't have like the cell phones where you just Google and like,
I didn't even have a cell phone at that time, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
I might have had a Boost Mobile or something, you know, I don't even remember, you know.
Yo,
yeah,
it's crazy.
It was wild.
That's gangster.
It was wild. So he did that, and I'll never forget. But even back then, I didn't see that as a threat.
Right.
And he was like, ain't nobody idea, something like that. I'm like, yeah, whatever, we're going to do this.
Right.
So, but I do remember, like, after the event, me feeling kind of scarred about that, and I knew that it started to hit me that guy had more money than me. He had more power than me. And I knew that, a dream like that for me was far away. For him, it was very close.
Right.
He had the money, but he didn't have the idea.
Right.
And that's what I gave him. I gave him the idea, and I didn't receive any money back.
Right.
And that taught me a valuable lesson back then. And it's something that my father-in-law says all the time now. He says that you got two type of people in business. You got the person with a lot of money with no ideas, and you got the person with a lot of ideas with no money. He said you can either become both,
right,
or you can introduce both, right? And I will always remember that, and ever since then I became both.
Yeah. And
I'm still introducing both. So we doing it all, It's like,
no
look,
doubt.
You got the idea, this brother got the money. Let y'all meet real quick, and I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah. No doubt. Man, that's a crazy story, bro.
Yeah,
that's
man.
a crazy story.
Yeah.
All right, so after the drop shipping, what happens next? After
I was making money at that time, right? So
what kind of money you making?
Well, I was doing about $6,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe about five. I was 15, 16 years old. I was doing about $5,000-6,000 a month.
What do your peers think about what you're doing at this point?
They ain't know.
They ain't know.
Nah, ain't none of them know, man.
What they think you were doing?
They didn't know. They didn't know. I don't know what they thought, actually, because I was never the type, I ain't never showed nobody my money.
Got you.
I never did that,
So you was just living and you're good, but nobody really knows how you're living.
I was just stacking money, I was just stacking my money up. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was always interested in, I got into the stock market a little bit, at that young age. I started, reading about stocks. And I made a terrible decision, but it was a little bit later in my life,
What a stock decision?
I don't even know if I should say. It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. I totally ain't want to have nothing to do with stocks no more, man. I'm gonna tell you though.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about it, man.
I invested in Blockbuster over Netflix. It was I could have sworn at that age I was like, Blockbuster got all of this real estate.
Yeah.
They got all of this. They've been existing for this long.
Yeah.
This is their. I'm looking over their profile and I'm reading. I'm like, yeah, they got these people in position, etc. And Netflix, I'm like, but they new, they fresh. But I didn't understand disruptive innovation at that time.
Right.
I didn't know about that.
Right.
So, because Netflix was the first one on the scene doing it. I mean, you later had like Ubers and Airbnbs, but the first one that I recognized was Netflix that was offering something disruptive.
Right, exactly.
So, so I learned my lesson right then and then to say, you know what, now, if I'm going to start a business, it has to be disruptive. And if I'm going to invest in a business, it has to be disruptive. Because those are the ones that you don't really expect to win. It's like the underdog. It's like black people.
Yeah.
We're disruptive,
Yeah.
So that's where I was casting my vote, from then on. But at that age, man, I thought I was right, and lo and behold, I was completely wrong.
I wouldn't even say it was a bad decision. I mean, if you take all the data points, like you said, Blockbuster was set up to win.
Yeah, they were set up, man.
You know what I mean? Even when they started doing like the mail-ins and all that, they were just there. They just were slow.
Yeah, they were slow. Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they didn't, like you said, they didn't innovate fast enough, and they didn't see it. They didn't see the big picture. They got stuck in their ways, and man. But
so that reminds me of Amazon today, in Walmart. It's going to be, Walmart is trying to catch up, and that's going to be difficult. And if you look at Amazon, they never really let up on anybody. You know, if it's anything that they see out there, they're going to get into that business. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, they found a way to get into that business.
Right.
And if a person doesn't sell, then they just dominate.
Right.
So that's their MO. And
Right.
it has always been their MO.
Right.
You know, it's like a snake or like a leech or something, right? What it does is that, or let me say it's like a germ. It's more like a germ. You know, it sort of attaches itself to your body and it benefits from your body, and then before you realize it, a parasite, that's what I'm looking for.
Parasite.
It's like a parasite.
Yeah.
Before you recognize it, it owns your body.
Right.
You know. And
it takes to the host, and then before you, like you said, it just takes over.
Takes over, you know, it takes over. There's like this parasite that latches onto a fish's tongue,
Right.
a fish tongue.
Right.
And it grows on that tongue, and eventually the parasite actually becomes the tongue of the fish.
Wow.
It's
Never heard of that
literally
before.
the tongue of the fish. It's
That's
a parasite.
crazy.
It looks like a big bug on the
Wow.
tongue. But that's what it becomes. But you know, Amazon is very similar to that. That they will call the community and say, sell on our platform, which we all did. You know, and then what they would do is they would say, they would study all of the data. They get all the metrics, and then they would look at it and say, oh, laundry detergent sells every month. People are buying this product every month.
Right.
The margins are excellent,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would say, you know, now let's look at the ratings that all of these detergent companies have. Let's read all of the reviews. What is it that people want? What are they asking for? What is the demand? And then they introduce their own line of detergent. And they allow to see organically to see whether or not that product actually makes it to the top based off of their own research. And it does. So they don't just introduce detergent, they introduce batteries, they introduce toothpaste, they introduce all these different items, but it's all their brand.
Right.
And the idea of it is to really replace and to monopolize, over the companies that actually made Amazon what it is today.
Right.
So they do that for everything. They do that for the Postal Service. You know, we'll use you until we don't need you anymore.
Wow.
You know, they did it to Google. Like they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Google. So every time you search, I'm looking for this product, you'll go and search on Google. But now, you know, over 70, 80% of product searches is now happening not on Google, but on Amazon.
Right.
So they'll pay for it until they're able to reach a point where they don't need that person or that entity or that community
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And we've been subjected to that, you know, since we've been here. And, you know, where all of our thoughts, all of our ideas, all of our aspirations have been stolen from us, you know, and we really never received anything in return.
Yeah.
And a banner on the homepage screaming Black Lives Matter does not give us what we need,
Right.
you know, for our livelihood.